What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Crash Pad Jr. pocket item and how some of you may actually end up preferring this to the shockwave grenade pocket item. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, comment down below which of these pocket items you prefer, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolvedDrake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So if you guys were unaware, you can actually swap your pocket items at the pocket item vending machine. And if you choose the Crash Pad Juniors, you will get 2 Crash Pads at a time. And then there is a 20-second regen time per Crash Pad, but only one regenerates at a time. And you can kind of use one and then wait to use the other. It's not like you get 2 and then you have to wait. You have them as you use them. So I feel like it's actually pretty versatile in that way, and it is very nice. You do have to actually take the Crash Pad out to use it, which is different from how Crash Pads normally work. Like if you had these as a regular inventory item, then you could jump while in air to automatically deploy the Crash Pad, but that does not work with the pocket item version. You need to actually take it out, and then even if it did work off double jumping, that would create like weird situations with the shock rocks. So I'm happy it doesn't work like that. For comparison, the shockwave grenade is a 30-second cooldown for one shockwave grenade. So you only get one shockwave, and then it also takes longer for its own individual cooldown. So Crash Pads is larger quantity and better cooldown time. And I think in most situations, the shockwaves are going to be better. Like if you hypothetically pause time and then ask someone, you know, in this situation, would you rather have a shockwave grenade or would you rather have a Crash Pad Jr.? I think in most situations, you would rather have the shockwave grenade for sure. Just as like an item for mobility in a one-off, you know, moment, it's better. But I think in most, like in a lot of situations, the Crash Pads can actually be really nice. And in my opinion, this really depends on how you use your pocket item. So for me, I'm often carrying 2 mobility items just in my regular inventory. So I often end up using my pocket item for just traveling around the map. Like if I got to go from point A to point B, I would rather use my pocket item because it regens than use something like my overdrive grenades, which don't regenerate, or my, you know, shock rock jumps, and then I got to find more shock rocks. The fact that the pocket item regenerates makes it a lot more of an expendable mobility item for non-important movement, or like in situations where timing isn't of the essence. You know, I would like to go somewhere. Having the mobility will get me there quick, and that's nice, but oftentimes I don't want to invest my actual mobility items into those moments, and so the pocket item is perfect for that. And since the Crash Pad Jr. has 2 and then also a faster regen time, you actually get a nice amount of movement for traveling around the map. And the fact that it regenerates faster means that you can use it more frequently. And the fact that you get 2 means you often have it ready to go. Like if you push a fight using it and it turns out that they were just bots, you have another, you know, Crash Pad in your inventory already. And then that one you used is going to be coming back soon. Whereas like if you used a shockwave in that moment, then, you know, you're waiting the whole 30 seconds. The fact that I'm mostly using it for this non-important movement means that I'm usually not just spamming 2 back to back. Like if you were just spamming it like that, then sure, you're going to have to wait, you know, 40 seconds for you to have 2 again. But if you're using them kind of sparingly just to travel around the map a little bit faster, I feel like you'll often have it ready to go in fights anyways, and you'll get around the map much faster and, you know, be able to capitalize on, you know, timings if you're trying to third party a fight. Maybe just spending less time traveling is typically nice. You know, if you're trying to go somewhere, the faster you can do that, the less your character is exposed and the less danger you're in. And so the Crash Pads help with that, and it just feels very convenient to have this constantly as like a way to travel around the map and conserve your other mobility items. And there is other points of value with the Crash Pad as well. So like teammates can also use it, and so, you know, you can throw one down, you can use it to go forward, your teammate use it to go forward. Everybody is now conserving mobility because of the Crash Pad that you put down, and everybody is traveling around the map quicker, probably staying together better because of the Crash Pad you put down. You do have to potentially worry about other players following you, but you know, you can turn around and shoot it if you are in a chaotic fight. And I feel like the fact that people can chase you using it was more of a problem in the past, I think, because the shock rocks are super important this season. And if I'm in a life or death situation, I might throw the Crash Pad down to try to get away, but I'm probably also going to use my shock rock uses as well. And so I'm going to Crash Pad into shock rock use. And then so even if they follow me from the Crash Pad, I got much further away if they didn't have shock rock charges, you know? But there's always just the tried and true. You can look back and shoot the Crash Pad after using it if you are worried about someone following you. But when I'm using it for just movement like this, I kind of like that it does stay on the ground. That way, if I end up wanting to go back that way, you know, maybe it's there for me to use again. So I don't really make a habit of just shooting them constantly, because being able to recycle it later is actually pretty nice in a lot of situations, I think. Also, this season, a lot of people just like carrying shock rocks as the only mobility items in their inventory. I personally have preferred carrying shock rocks and overdrive grenades because I like having the different forms of movement. And then even if you do have the pocket shockwave, you have like a shockwave for that style of movement, sometimes I might need more than one, you know, or I might need it again before it's ready to go. And when I have only shock rocks in those moments, I end up having to use shock rock jumps that I don't want to. And I think that conserving those is really nice because I think they're a huge premium. And so I feel like having the Crash Pad Jrs. also makes it a bit easier to just carry shock rock stacks if you want, because since you have 2 Crash Pads, you can use it to push a fight or chase and not have to use shock rock charges, whereas otherwise you might have to. It's kind of hard to explain this, but like just whenever I do have only shock rocks, I feel like there's so many moments where one shockwave isn't enough and I end up having to waste jumps. And so the Crash Pads kind of allow you to do that, you know, to conserve your shock rock jumps and carry only those for movement if that's something you want to do. Also, with the recent nerf to the shock rocks, you can only carry 4 in a stack, so you might be more inclined to carry multiple stacks of shock rocks now. And like I just said, I feel like the Crash Pads kind of create a better complement to just shock rocks because you have 2 and you can kind of use them a little bit more loosely and not have to wait 30 seconds for the cooldown. So overall, like I said, if you just compare one Crash Pad Jr. to one shockwave, the one shockwave is a lot better. You know, you go, I feel like, more aggressively in the direction you're trying to go. You can use it to propel enemies better. You could use it to break objects. There's a lot of little points of value that the shockwave has. But with how I'm typically using my pocket item, I feel like the Crash Pad Jrs. actually have a lot of value because it's usually just for more miscellaneous movement. If you're someone who doesn't carry as much mobility, like you only carry one mobility item, then maybe having the shockwave, which is an actual better mobility item, would be more valuable to you in that instance. But I think if you're carrying double mobility anyways, you can use the Crash Pads just for, you know, non-important movement, get around faster, and you'll find that the game flows a lot better this way. At least that's how I felt today playing with the Crash Pad Jrs. And if you guys have watched my channel for a while, you know that I absolutely love shockwaves. So if I'm endorsing the Crash Pad Jrs. like this, you know that it probably means something. And I feel like the way they balanced it of having a shorter cooldown and also having 2 makes it a lot more appealing than it otherwise would have been. If it was just 1, I think even the shorter cooldown wouldn't really make it worthwhile. But having 2 and a shorter cooldown, I think, feels really good for the way I've been using my pocket item recently. There also is the fact that the Crash Pads typically give like no audio to the person using them. This is also something that the shock rocks, you know, have. If you're using a shockwave or an overdrive grenade, lots of enemies will be able to hear you using that and then react to you. And if you're trying to do that to push somebody, then they might react in time and then use mobility of their own. So the fact that the Crash Pad Jr. creates less audio is a point of value that normally I wouldn't care too much about because I just cared about how good the item was. But the fact that it's a pocket item and I can carry other mobility on top of that as well, I feel like having it, you know, in those moments, like, hey, making no audio would be really good here. I'm going to use the Crash Pad and maybe catch somebody off guard. And then if it really comes down to it and it's a very important moment, I still have my overdrives, I still have my shock rock. So the way the mobility is set up right now and the fact that pocket items are a thing actually makes the Crash Pad Jr. quite good, but it really just comes down to preference and how you end up using your pocket item. If it's like a primary source of movement for you, the shockwave is going to be better. But if you use it like me and it's mostly just unimportant movement or non, you know, urgent, I think the Crash Pad Jr. is actually really good. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.